Was World Titles back with a long-awaited redo of another countdown as I did in the past. Now, in 2019, I did the something like 50 worst world champions list, and that was when I was a little younger than I was. I'm in my late 20s now, but still. But we're gonna slim this to 10. Now, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them were in the prior list, but there are some who are eliminated from this list. One of which is David Arquette's WCW champion, which he didn't want to be WCW champion, and I applaud him for that. Another one is Great Khali Worldwide champion because, yeah, it was bad at the time in 2007, but he was a big fucking deal in 2006, 2007. I say 2006, 2007. But that's all I have to say. Brock Lesnar's Universal Champion, part-timer, doesn't show up. There's that, He didn't need a World Champion in 2017 to 2022. But maybe I'll do a top 10 worst championship wins list. But that's way down the road. And a few others. But anyways, let's get on to this list. And tomorrow will be Raw, but that'll be later in the day because it's gonna be afterwards. But still, we're not gonna talk about that yet. Anyways, let's get on to this top 10 list. With number 10, Sid Vicious as WCW Championship. Yeah, back to the WCW 2000 madness with this. Believe it or not, this is not the only one on this list. It's kind of surprising. Sid won the WCW title twice in 2000. Well, he won it after Benoit and the others, like Eddie Guerrero, Perry Center, and Dean Malenko, they left to go to the WWE after this. Yeah, we obviously know about that. We obviously know. So, a week after this, Sid was put in a match with... Well, he was supposed to face Jeff Jarrett. But then Jarrett still had that concussion after the cage match with Jimmy Snuka. Yes, that happened. So he had to face Don Harris of the Harrisburg, but then there was a switcheroo, but they didn't mention it on TV. So Sid won the WCW Championship by beating Kevin Nash for only a day and a half on the Thunder tape because they showed the footage of what happened with the Harris switch. So Nash became WCW champion after that, only for Sid to win it back near the end of the Thunder broadcast. And all it was with him feuding with Jeff Jarrett, and also Scott Hall was in it for some reason. They had that cluster of a triple threat match at Super Bowl 2000 with 9 million ref bumps because it's a Jeff Jarrett match. He also put the title against fucking Tank Abbott. Yes, that happened also. And his other one was he defended against... Well, he did defend against Scott Hall during the build to Super Bowl 2000. He was supposed to warn Sid down. Then he had the match with Uncensored with Jarrett, which, again, it was another shit match. I mean, nothing against either guy, RP to Sid, but still. Then he turns heel. If the reboot didn't happen, it was supposed to be Sid versus Hogan at Spring Stampede, but then again, the reboot happened. Sid was vacated the WCW title afterwards on the April 10th Nitro. Yeah, Sid was always meant to be a world champion. Yes, he was. His two WWE champion runs were not bad. Well, his second one was due to Shawn Michaels losing a smile, but I'm not going into the whole detail with HBK and the 90s and that. But still. So yeah, that was number 10 with Sid Vicious as WCW champion. Number 9 was Big E as WWE champion by 2021. This was a unfortunate circumstance because he was champion when the time Roman Reigns was champion, and we all know, yes, the cash-in was good though, but then again, like I said before, he was champion when the time Roman Reigns was Universal champion, so they went one after the other. That's not the other one we're going to talk about, I mean, he did held the title all the way up to day one, which we'll get to that point. But he did defend against Drew as crown jewel in 2021, but that was no way in hell that Drew was going to win the WWE Championship because Roman was the champion because Drew went to SmackDown. There's no way to have two world champions on SmackDown. So what the fuck do they do now? Then he was, unfortunately, had to lose to Roman at Survivor Series. This was still in the whole brand warfare fiasco, which thankfully was retired after that. Like, the whole show was Raw versus SmackDown. They don't do that anymore for Survivor Series. I say Survivor Series because they did the crown jewel ring, belt, whatever you want to fucking call that thing. Again, it's a mess of the belt. Because you don't hold the fucking title because Saudi wants it back. Because they're greedy assholes. Where was I? Oh yeah, this. Yeah, unfortunately that was when Big E's title run was gonna fall apart because then again Seth was the number one contender for the WWE Championship by the day one event, and before Roman got the COVID, the original finish to both world titles with Brock and Seth were supposed to win the respective titles, but then Roman got sick and Big E unfortunately dropped the WWE Championship to Brock Lesnar. And then he got his career-ending injury, and we'll not gonna go there. But still, I mean, it was unfortunate. Like Punk was the world champion because Raw didn't have a world champion in 2008. But at least he got more world title runs after this. Jericho was unfortunately changing during the time where Stephanie and Triple H had their kayfabe divorce storyline. But again, he actually recovered and have more world titles in WWE. Well, World Heavyweight Championships, that is, not WWE Championships, unfortunately. But yeah, that's unfortunately number 9 is Big E as WWE Championship. Number 8 is Rob Van Dam as WWE and ECW champions. I mean, the moment he won it at One Night Stand in 2006 was, still is, a great moment for him. And then he was handed the ECW championship on the first ECW show on Sci-Fi. He did successfully defend the WWE championship against Edge at Vengeance, but then real life controversy caught up to him because got caught and then he had to forcibly got to give up the WWE and the ECW titles. He lost the WWE championship to Edge. Then the following on, that was on Raw, and then the following on ECW, Van Dam unfortunately lost the belt to somebody else on this list. That's like another entry down. The Big Show. Well, we'll get to him after the next one. Yeah, after the next one. It's such a damn shame because he never got another world title run in WWE afterwards. Unfortunately, his TNA championship run was slightly better than this. I say slightly because at least he did main event pay-per-views like Slammiversary and Victory Road. But I still think Abyss should have won the TNA title at Victory Road, but then again, it was the Hogan days, and we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, that's number 8. It's Raw Van Dam as WWE and WCW champions. And why I say both, because he held both of them. Anyways, number 7 is a Wild Slapnuts appearance. Yeah, Marky D reference. Jeff Jarrett as WCW Championship. I'm not gonna talk about his world title runs in TNA. Those were polarizing runs because of his reign of terror. But then again, he owns the fucking company, so there is that. But I'm talking about his WCW title runs. It started by our number 10 entry, where Sid was forced to have to give up the WCW title, and then there was a tournament to determine the new WCW championship, where it came down between Jeff Jarrett and Diamond Dallas Page. When have I seen this before? At Spring Stampede, Jarrett won because Kimberly turned on DDP. That was like the first of 3 pay-per-view endings where somebody turns heel at the end of the match. Main event match involving Jeff Jarrett, because this is a Jarrett specialty. So, okay, this will be one of 2 hot takes about this, and there's another one on this list. A hot take about this: Jeff Jarrett should have had this run from Spring Stampede to Bash at the Beach, where he dropped it to Booker T. But instead, he dropped the title a week after to Diamond Dallas Page. Yeah, remind you, they were going to have a match at Slamboree in the Ready to Rumble Triple Cage match. Then they were going to won the WCW title on the Thunder after that Nitro match. It was like a TV taping but still. Then Jarrett won the belt back at Slamboree in the Ready to Rumble Cage match, only for him to drop the title again a week after Slamboree to Ric Flair for his 15th world title run. Even though that's a fucking lie. Then Vince Russo stripped him of the belt, gave it back to Jarrett, lost the belt to Kevin Nash 2 days later on Thunder. Then Nash gave the belt back to Ric Flair, becoming a 16-time world champion, to drop back to Jeff Jarrett. Then he had to have the... Yeah, Slamboree, by the way. Derek had turned on DDP. That's the second period in a row that somebody turns heel at the end. Then he had the title defense against Kevin Nash, which was a gigantic cluster of a match. It's, like I said, it's sort of similar to the match with DDP at Destination X 2005, where a shitload of run-ins, a heel turn. This was the same thing here. There was a shitload of run-ins and Goldberg turns heel. The less I say about that, better. Then the infamous moment at Bash at the Beach where Jarrett lied down to Hogan. Yada yada yada. The whole thing of Hogan saying this company's in a damn shit because of bullshit like this. Hogan was no longer in WCW afterwards, and then Jarrett was still the champion to drop the belt to Booker T. Again, Jarrett should have held the belt from Spring Stampede to Bash at the Beach. Or at the other case, he should have held the title from... Well, actually, yeah, that first one should have been from that. It should have been just one reign. Not, what was it, Spring Stampede he wanted, then dropped it to DDP, won it back at Slamboree, then he lost to Ric Flair, was awarded the belt. That's like third. Lost the belt to Nash. Then Nash gave it back to Flair. Then he won the belt from Flair. That's like 4 reigns with the belt. But yeah, that's number 7. It's Jeff Jarrett's WCW Championship. And again, his world title run in TNA is a polarizing one of the whole Reign of Terror thing, just like Triple H. Blah, 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 blah. Blah. Anyways. Number 6, Big Show as ECW Championship because of the other prior entrant 2 entries ago. We've already getting suspended and they had to get the belt off him with Edge. That was a good run he had. But the other one was the ECW title. He dropped the belt to the fucking Big Show. I talked about this in my dumpster fire, so I'm gonna go a quick lightning round on this one. It was an Extreme Rules match. Heyman turns on Rob Van Dam. Big Show won the ECW title. Yeah, when I think of this is when they revised ECW, and this was when this was not the beginning of the end, but this was like where the new ECW jumped the shark. And it's nothing against Big Show, like I said, but I don't think of him as ECW, but you can argue say he's the first to win the WWE, the WCW, and the ECW championships, but yeah, he had his reign. They brought over Raw and SmackDown wrestlers to fight the Big Show. Yeah, the Ric Flair match was good, but then you brought in Undertaker and Kane, which those were. But you had that infamous match with Batista on the August 1st of 2006. Where he was in the Hammerstein Ballroom. The fans were hating on it, and the match was suffered because of it, and then that led to Sabu coming in and save the fans for a riot. And then they got that SummerSlam match with the Big Show and Sabu, which that was the only redeemable thing about that match, that whole reign, but still. Then he was part of the DX McMahon stuff for Unforgiven 2006. Keep in mind, that's a Raw storyline. Big Show is an ECW wrestler. Then the whole champion thing where his title didn't get won by the votes, but still. Then he lost at Survivor Series, and then he dropped the belt at that. Oh my god. Not this pay-per-view again! Oh my god, no! ECW December to December 2006. To the next entrant. Bobby Lashley as ECW Championship. I'm quickly going through this one. Yeah. This is when the ECW brand was in the shit house. Bobby Lashley won the title at December to Dismember from our prior entry, The Big Show. And then he had a match with Test at the Rumble. Then he was part of the... Well, then again, he fought Mr. Kennedy and No Way Out for the title. Then the whole Battle of the Billionaires thing with Donald Trump and Vince McMahon with Austin as the referee, where Lashley won against Umaga. And then he dropped the belt to Vince McMahon at Backlash. Oh, we'll get to him at the end of this list. Spoilers. He won the belt back at One Night Stand Extreme Rules. Then he was dropped to Raw and he was to give up the ECW title. I mean, his WWE Championship runs are honorable mentions, but his ECW title runs, no sense of the word, because he did not fit the mold of ECW, same with the Big Show. So that's number 6 and number 5. Big Show and Bobby Lashley as ECW champions. But they're not the worst ECW championships. Oh, they are not, because we have one more after them. But we'll have to wait for that. Number 4, Gunther as World Heavyweight Championship. I could have put Damian Priest on this list. I could have put Jey Uso on this list because their World Heavyweight Championships were... Well, Priest's were more controversial because he won the belt because of CM Punk. Yeah, cash in, but still. He won the belt because of CM Punk helping him out. Then he retained again with Punk getting involved because him and McIntyre winning the program, and then he helped Priest again at Money in the Bank, which the less I say about that, the better. And that was when Drew cashed in the briefcase. Then Priest dropped the belt to Gunther at SummerSlam, which is our entry here. Why is his run so bad, to be honest? The build-up. He called him street trash. And I said before, that's fucking racist. And also, calm down. His first title program was against Randy Orton. He's a SmackDown wrestler. Which Gunther won that. Then he was put in the Crown Jewel Championship against Cody Rhodes, which this is a similar entry to Big E, where he was champion when Cody Rhodes was the champion. And Gunther lost the Crown Jewel champion ring, whatever it is, to Cody Rhodes. The match wasn't that special to begin with anyways. I thought the Seth one was better this year with Cody and Seth because that was a must-win situation for Seth Rollins. Check out my Crown Jewel review. Then he dropped the belt to Jey Uso at WrestleMania, which again, that is a desirable mention. And then he won the belt back, which honestly, you should not have Gunther be the one to dethrone Jey Uso. To me, it should have been sooner, but it should have been Seth Rollins, but still. Then he has the honor to be Goldberg's last match. Last opponent, rather. I'd rather have somebody else to be Goldberg's last opponent. I'd rather have the AJ Styles. Or who else? Somebody else. Not John Cena because he's on his retirement tour also. Or I don't know, not Punk. That one. Yeah, Roman was dealing with the Vision at this point. I don't know who else you could have had. Not Logan Paul because he'll get destroyed by him. But still, they put the title on the line in this match. And a hot take here, if Goldberg was going to have his last match, and if he's going to fight Gunther for the title, and if they were going to do this whole thing, Goldberg should have won the title. Yes, he was going to retire after this. And yes, the belt would have been vacated. And yes, the tournament final should have been Punk, was going to be Punk versus Gunther anyways. And yes, Seth still would have cashed in after the match with Punk and Gunther. Oh, Sheamus is the other one, but nobody knows where he's. Oh, wait, he was in a program with Rusev, I believe, but still. But yeah, Gunther is number 4 on my worst world champions list. Again, I would give it to Damian Priest because of Punk helping him. I could have put it to Jey Uso because he was champion at the wrong place at the wrong time. But number 3 is Mick Foley as TNA Championship. This is the only TNA-related thing on this list, by the way. And I'm talking about the actual TNA World Championship. Mick Foley did not need to wrestle in 2009, let's be honest with you all. And he should not have been TNA World Heavyweight Championship in 2009. Like, his body was worn down when he was in TNA in 2009. He could have been just an authority figure. But you put him in the fucking ring at this point in 2009. He had so many injuries at past it. He was way past it also. Like, you look at the Ultimate Sacrifice match, he barely wrestled in that match. The King of Mountain match where he dropped the title, he was barely in that match also. That's the one where he dropped it to Kurt Angle where, for some fucking reason, they turned Samoa Joe heel and have him join the Main Event Mafia. Like, honestly, they should have just kept the belt on Sting. Because he was at least still able to go in 2009 in TNA. But still, no offense to Mick Foley, but should not have been world champion in 2009. I'm just being honest with you. He won the belt at Lockdown in Philadelphia, and I don't think the crowd reacted to him winning the title. They're like, what? Mick Foley's champion? Yay, okay. Like, why, though? So that's number 3, is Mick Foley's TNA Championship. Number 2 is Jinder Mahal's WWE Championship. This used to be number 1. Or, no, I think it was Brock Lesnar. No. But regardless, again, Great Khali as world champion was bad, but it was a big fucking deal he was in 2006 2007, let's be honest with you. And yes, SmackDown was not what it was, but again, Khali did the best he could. Mahal was a jobber. I mean, Khali, he beat Undertaker in his first match in WWE. He looked impressive in that one. Mahal was basically a jobber. And then you put him in the WWE Championship run. Beating Randy Orton 3 periods in a row. Then the whole thing with Nakamura, which... that was so fucking tasteless. And thank God for AJ Styles beating him for the title before Survivor Series. Again, can you imagine if they do Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal? Imagine that. Regardless, that is number 2. Again, they did Dumbest Fire on that. I'm not going into the whole details about that because it's a quick round. But number 1, Vince McMahon ECW Championship. What else do you fucking expect from that? Vince McMahon as ECW Championship. That is where you could have just pulled the plug and end ECW like that. He won the title at Backlash in 2007. Is this or Ronda winning the SmackDown Women's Championship in 2022? This was a slap in the face to ECW. Because Vince McMahon thought of that third brand. Trash. And it's one of the reasons why people thought 2007 was the worst year in WWE history. It's neck and neck between that, 2019, and 2010. As worst years. He had last year in multiple handicap matches in 2 pay-per-views. One where he won the title at Backlash. The other was at Judgment Day. He lost the belt to Bobby last year, won next year Extreme Rules, and we obviously know about that one. But that was number 1. Vince McMahon has ECW Championship, so that's my list. This was not as long as that last one, because it was like 4 separate parts, by the way. And I'm not doing those type of videos again, but still. This was a quick remaster, and I'll do another list sometime soon, but still. Raw will be tomorrow, and then Thursday, I think our secondary channel, subscribe and click on that one. You will see WCW Halloween Havoc 1989, and then the weekend there will be Halloween Havoc 1985. And to wrap up the October review, it's on there, Halloween Havoc 2000. Because I'm a psychopath going through the other WCW 2000 again. I mean, I did Bash at the Beach and Spring Stampede 2 years prior to those. But fuck it, I want to get those done and over with. You will not see Mayhem until December. So there's that. I might do like a WCW theme for December. Regardless, bye-bye.